Chapter 341. Benjamin took a look at the pair, unable to figure out what his father had up his sleeves. With Darius' promise, Orissa nodded and replied, "If that's the case, I'll leave it to you to decide then, Mr. Graham." "Good. Changing their last name is a grand affair. We should find a good day for that." Darius was smiling from ear to ear after hearing her reply. He was already thinking of the guest list for the celebratory banquet he was intending to hold. "We have to start preparing for the banquet." Darius finally looked toward Benjamin and reminded him, "You have to treat this matter with utmost importance. Also, inform everyone about it. Dad, let's just invite our relatives. There's no need to make it such a grand affair." Benjamin did not see a need to publicize the matter. Darius glanced at his son with a stern expression and said, "Are my grandchildren an embarrassment to you?" Benjamin's lips twitched upon hearing that. "The kids are still young. We should keep them out of the public eye." After giving it some thought, Darius realized that what Benjamin said made sense. "Oh, and here I thought you were embarrassed by them." Benjamin was speechless. Orissa agreed with Benjamin and said to Darius, "Mr. Graham, let's just invite a few of our closest relatives." "Sure, I'll let you decide then," Darius replied joyfully. Benjamin was at a loss for words once more, while Orissa merely smiled in response. "Issa, you should go and take a look at the kids. Don't let them run too far now." Darius sent Orissa away deliberately. "Got it." Orissa understood the man's intentions and went over to the kids. Actually, with Kingsley and Sean taking care of the kids, she had nothing to worry about. In fact, even if there were no adults around, she knew that her children would be just fine. Darius shot a glance at Orissa and said to Benjamin, "You haven't managed to seal the deal yet." Benjamin's eyes flickered when he heard that. Darius looked at his son and continued, "Issa is a wonderful woman. She's a good match for you as well, not to mention she's the mother of your children. You should work harder to seal the deal. Otherwise, you might lose all your children." Benjamin frowned and replied, "Dad, why did you promise her that the kids can stay with her no matter how it turned out between us?" Darius cast a glance at his son and placed his hands behind him. "If I didn't give her my word, do you think she'll agree to let the children change their last name?" The crease between Benjamin's brows deepened as he replied, "It's a fact that the children belong to our Graham family." Darius stared at his son, speechless. "Why is your thinking even more outdated than mine?" Benjamin merely gazed at his father and said nothing. Darius let out a snort and continued, "Even though I gave her my word, it doesn't mean that you have also agreed to it. Anyway, the priority is to get the children to change their last names. It would be even better if you could marry Issa too. We can just hold one grand banquet to celebrate and save the hassle." An unfathomable glint flashed past Benjamin's eyes as he replied, "I have my own plans." Darius looked at his son and gave him a word of caution. "Just don't do things that you'll regret in the future. A woman will never get over a broken heart. Once that happens, she is likely to be scarred for life." Darius sighed. Since they were outside, he did not want to say too much. "I'm going to play with my sweethearts now. It's so tiring to talk to you." After Darius walked over to Orissa, she greeted him with a warm smile. The two of them started chatting happily with the 5 kids surrounding them. It was a joyous and harmonious sight. Benjamin fixed his gaze on the woman's bright smile and walked toward her. "It's time to go home." Orissa turned to look at him. Darius glanced at his son and grumbled, "We have just finished dinner. Why are we going back so soon? I'm planning to walk around town with my sweethearts and enjoy the night scenery." He paused and turned toward the 5 children before asking, "Sweethearts, shall we walk around more?" The children looked at Orissa and asked, "Mommy, are you coming with us too?" It was obvious that they did not want the night to end just yet. By right, they should be exhausted after playing for the whole day. However, they did not seem to be tired at all. Of course, Orissa wanted to spend more time with the kids as well. After all, they were starting school the next day. As she had to work too, she would not have much time to accompany them. The children cheered excitedly. "Hooray! Grandpa, Mommy is coming with us. All right, we'll all go together." Darius smiled at the kids affectionately before saying to Benjamin, if you don't want to join us, feel free to go back yourself. No one is stopping you." Hearing that, Kingsley and Sean chuckled under their breath before going to get the car. Chapter 342. Since the kids had no desire to go home just yet, Benjamin had no choice but to follow them. Orissa was not in the same car as him. Instead, she was with the kids and Darius. Kingsley was initially in the same car as the kids, but he had been chased out. In the end, he could only sit in Benjamin's car. Sitting beside the driver's seat, he felt pressured. He would sneak occasional glances at Benjamin, whose expression was grim and frosty. Kingsley did not even dare to breathe loudly. "Where did you guys go today?" asked Benjamin nonchalantly. Kingsley looked at him and grinned. "We went to the garden and the amusement park. I took them to the roller coasters." Nodding, Benjamin remarked, "When you're free, bring them out more often." Kingsley raised his eyebrows and asked carefully, "What do you mean, boss?" For some reason, his words sounded rather scary. Benjamin shot a sharp glance at the rearview mirror and replied solemnly, "I mean what I said." "Is there something wrong with your brain?" Kingsley fell silent before mumbling under his breath, "I'll bring them out even if you didn't tell me to. It's fun to play with them." Besides, Gavin became much happier when he was with the other 4 children. Their happiness was infectious, too. Anyone who saw them would have their mood improve. "Boss, don't you want to play with them? You can improve your relationship by doing that," suggested Kingsley. Benjamin replied coldly, "I'm busy." The corners of Kingsley's lips twitched. "But you can't be busy all the time, right? You should heed old Mr. Graham's advice. You need to spend your weekends accompanying them." Naturally, Benjamin knew what he should do. Frowning, he changed the topic. "Why did you enter my car just now?" Stunned, Kingsley did not know why Benjamin suddenly asked that question. "Couldn't you have snatched the chance to get into that car first?" Benjamin was unhappy. Kingsley blinked in confusion before finally realizing what was going on. "Is Benjamin blaming me for giving the seat up for Orissa?" Grinning, he scrutinized Benjamin, who looked extremely grumpy. Kingsley cleared his throat. "Boss, you can't be too persistent if you're pursuing a girl. It'll make her feel suffocated like she has no freedom at all. You need to relax your hold when appropriate, appear when it's the right time, and stay away from her when you should. You need to let her be alone and have her time to herself." Benjamin frowned, ignoring Kingsley's words. "By the way, boss, how's your progress with her?" Kingsley was quite curious. Benjamin shot him a glance. "A word of advice. Sometimes, you shouldn't be too restrained. When it comes to women, you need to be more domineering. Just go for it," suggested Kingsley with a smile. "Get out of the car if you can't keep your mouth shut," yelled Benjamin, thinking that his friend was being too noisy. Kingsley pouted before falling quiet. Orissa went to the city plaza with the children and Darius. They got out of the car and observed the bustling streets in the city center. "Issa, have you come here before?" asked Darius with a smile. They were at a plaza that had just been constructed. As it just started operations, it was one of the hottest spots. "Not yet," replied Orissa. "These didn't exist before I went overseas." Darius nodded and started introducing some fun places to them. While Orissa and the kids listened to him, they admired the scenery. "Mommy, there's ice cream there." Jessie licked her lips, feeling hungry. "Why don't I go and buy some for her, Mommy?" suggested Jasper. "No, I'll go buy some. Stick with Grandpa, okay?" Orissa reminded the 5 children before leaving. Darius smiled and looked at his 5 grandchildren. "Issa, buy one more. I'd like to eat ice cream." "2, got it, Mr. Graham," replied Orissa with a smile as she turned her head around. Then, she walked over to buy the ice cream. After counting the number of people, she bought 9. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice sounded beside her. "Hey babe, can you buy one more? I want to eat some ice cream, but I didn't bring my wallet." Chapter 343. Orissa glanced around and saw the person staring at her with a smile. She was stunned, but decided to ignore him. Checking her out, Justin was amazed. As expected of a woman who can catch Benjamin's eye. "Come on babe, do me a favor and treat me to ice cream, won't you?" Orissa frowned and shot a glance at him. Don't you have a phone? It's so convenient to pay online nowadays. It doesn't matter if you forgot your wallet as long as you have your phone with you. Justin lowered his head and glanced at his phone. Oof, she has a point there. I miscalculated. He smirked devilishly. I forgot that I have my phone with me. Why don't I treat you to ice cream then? As Justin spoke, he ordered another ice cream from the waiter and paid the bill. Orissa did not like that at all. Why is he acting so weirdly for no reason? Can I have your number, babe? Justin continued to flirt with her. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. Rejected Orissa coldly. After the ice cream was ready, she took the bag, paid for her orders, and left. Justin stared at her broodingly. This woman's got a personality. Sir, do you still want the 10 ice cream? Reminded the waiter. Justin turned around and stared at him. Give 2 to me and distribute the remaining ice cream to the others nearby. Sure. When Benjamin arrived and heard that Orissa had left to buy ice cream, he walked over and saw her coming back. Why did you wander around? Orissa frowned and rebuked in annoyance. I just went to buy some food. What do you mean that I'm wandering around? A glint flashed past Benjamin's eye when he spotted a figure. He narrowed his eyes. At the ice cream shop, Justin was walking in the opposite direction with the 2 ice cream, his back facing them. Noticing how Benjamin was looking at something behind her, Orissa turned around and glanced behind, but she did not see anything. Holding the ice cream, she walked back and passed an ice cream to Darius. Here you go, Mr. Graham. Thank you for the ice cream, Issa. Darius was happy like a child. You're welcome, replied Orissa with a smile. Then, she gave 1 ice cream each to the 5 children. Hold them properly now. You won't get to have another one if you drop them. You're so petty, Mommy. Oliver stuck his tongue out. Orissa flicked her son's forehead. You're the pettiest one here. Why didn't you treat us to food? Oliver chuckled. Adjusting his glasses, he started licking the ice cream happily. Zachary and Gavin said appeasingly, the ice cream you bought for us tastes so good, Mommy. Smiling, Orissa passed an ice cream to Sean and Kingsley. Thank you, Mrs. Graham. The 2 of them were overjoyed as they did not expect to have ice cream as well. Orissa started to eat her ice cream, feeling satisfied. Ah, dessert after food is the most enjoyable. Benjamin glanced at them. He walked over to Orissa and asked in a deep voice, Don't I have one? Orissa shot a look at him. I thought you didn't like sweet food. Benjamin's eyes glinted. It was true that he disliked dessert and street food. However, he felt annoyed after seeing that she bought ice cream for everyone but him. Who said that? He then grabbed her hand and took a bite of the ice cream at the spot that she just licked. Orissa widened her eyes in shock. Without even a change in his expression, Benjamin ate a huge chunk of her ice cream. Hey, didn't you see that I've already started eating this? Looking at her half-eaten ice cream, she felt gloomy. Benjamin glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. I've just taken a small bite of your ice cream. Do you have to be so petty? Orissa was furious. Is this really a problem of me being petty? If he wants ice cream, why can't he ask someone to buy it for him? Looking at how furious she was, Benjamin chuckled in amusement. Don't you know that women shouldn't eat too much cold foods? Orissa rolled her eyes at him and walked over to the children. While eating the ice cream, Sean and Kingsley stared at the childish Benjamin in amusement. If this is how Benjamin pursues girls, it'll only be counterproductive. I'd be angry too if I were her. Sean chuckled to himself. Chapter 344. Kingsley took a bite of his ice cream. Yeah, women hate it when something they like gets snatched away. When Benjamin shot them a cold glare, they quickly averted their gazes and caught up with Darius and the rest. Benjamin strode behind the kids. Do you still want to eat anything else? He asked the children. Jesse glanced at him and walked toward Orissa. Benjamin raised his brows. Laughing, Orissa stroked her daughter's head affectionately. Don't be scared. Benjamin was speechless. Looking at how gloomy his father looked, Gavin smiled. Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, let's go there to play. Gavin beckoned his brothers over. The 3 kids nodded and ran away with him. Laughing, Darius strode behind them. Benjamin sighed. Is Gavin rebelling? He turned his head around and glared at Orissa, who blinked innocently. When she saw him still staring at her, she returned his glare. Why are you glaring at me? Yeah, you're not allowed to glare at mommy. Jessie glared at Benjamin menacingly. When Kingsley and Sean saw that, they laughed till their stomachs ached. Benjamin, you need to be gentler with girls, suggested Kingsley fearlessly. Benjamin shot another glare at him. Laughing, Kingsley walked away. Sean rushed forward and scooped Jessie into his arms. Jessie, I'll bring you over there to play, okay? Smiling, Jessie stared at Sean. Can I get something to eat, Uncle Sean? Sure, just tell me what you'd like to eat and I'll buy it for you. Sean's expression was filled with affection. Jessie was overjoyed. Can you buy some for my brothers too? Of course. Sean agreed easily. Let's go, then. Mommy, come with us. Jessie turned her head around and beckoned Orissa over. Orissa nodded with a smile and reminded, don't eat something that you shouldn't. Got it. Jessie nodded obediently. Sean glanced at them and left while carrying Jessie. When Benjamin saw that Orissa was about to follow them, he took a step forward and grabbed her hand. Do you still want ice cream? I'll buy one for you. Orissa glanced at him. I don't want to eat it anymore. Staring at her puffed up cheeks, Benjamin laughed and asked, are you still angry? Orissa pouted and ignored him. Benjamin scanned his surroundings and spotted many eateries. Do you like barbecue? Orissa swallowed hard at that. Chuckling, Benjamin brought her over to a barbecue stall and bought some for her. Orissa did not expect him to actually buy it for her. With a surprised look, she stared at his lean back. A heartwarming feeling filled her heart. What would you like to eat? Asked Benjamin as he turned around. When he noticed her distracted look, he frowned. What is this woman thinking about? Orissa returned to her senses. Looking at how generous he was being, she said deliberately, I want to eat everything. Benjamin stared at her for a few seconds before turning around and instructing the owner, I'd like to have a serving of everything. 10 servings, added Orissa. The owner of the stall stared at them. He asked, are you sure that you want 10 servings? Orissa nodded firmly. Yeah, I'm sure. I want 10 servings. Benjamin let her order anything that she wanted. Are you sure you can finish so much food? Orissa gazed at him and replied with a smile, we have so many people with us. Of course we can finish all the food. Or, are you so petty that you don't want to treat them? Only he can come up with the idea of only treating me to food. Orissa's lips twitched at the thought. Looking at how considerate she looked, Benjamin was amused. He snorted softly, you're such a considerate person. Orissa was rendered speechless. If you can't bear to treat others to food, don't do it, then. I'll pay for it myself. Chapter 345. Benjamin pursed his lips. Is this a problem about me being too petty? If she's so considerate toward others, why isn't she considerate toward me? In the next second, Benjamin whipped out his phone and paid the bill. Staring at him, Orissa teased deliberately, Mr. Graham, do you want me to transfer the money back to you? There's no need for that, rebuked Benjamin solemnly as he glared at her. Orissa laughed in amusement. Thank you for your treat, then, Mr. Graham. Benjamin pinched her cheeks. You'll have to treat me back next time. The corners of Orissa's lips twitched. After the food was all packed, Benjamin gestured at it. Aren't you getting it? Orissa was speechless. She picked up the 10 servings of barbecue and took a sniff at it. Damn, that smells good. I can't wait to eat it. A smile played on Benjamin's lips when he saw how eager she was. What do you want to eat first? Squid, blurted Orissa. She then glanced at the squid that the stall was selling before leaving with the food. Benjamin took a bag from her, picked up some squid, and placed it beside her mouth. Orissa shot him a glance before opening her mouth and taking a bite. She exclaimed in satisfaction, how yummy. Upon seeing how she seemed to find everything she ate delicious, Benjamin was curious about whether it actually tasted good. Just when he raised his hand to have a bite, Orissa urged him, hurry up. I want another bite. Benjamin's hand froze midair. He then changed the trajectory of his hand and moved the squid to her mouth again. Taking a bite of the squid's tentacles, Orissa closed her eyes with a smile, clearly savoring the food. When Benjamin spotted the sauce at the corners of her lips, he searched his pocket. However, he realized that he did not bring his handkerchief. Just when he was about to raise his hand to wipe it for her, Orissa licked her lips clean. Benjamin's gaze landed on the pink tip of her tongue, and a glint flashed across his eyes. When Orissa noticed his passionate stare, she was embarrassed. "I'll bring this to them." As she spoke, she ran toward the kids. Benjamin snorted softly and followed behind her. "Sweethearts, have some barbecue." The kids cheered happily when they saw her rushing over with her hands filled with food. "Thank you, Mommy." "Ha ha, there's no need to thank me," said Orissa with a smile. She glanced at Benjamin and explained, "Your daddy's the one who bought it." The 5 children, including Darius, Kingsley, and Sean, looked at Benjamin. "Thank you, Mr. Graham," chorused the 5 children before taking the food from Orissa's hands. "Come on, everyone has a share." Orissa passed the food out to everyone. When there was only one serving left, she started eating it. Benjamin was holding onto his own portion of food. "Benjamin, I didn't expect you to buy food from such eateries," teased Sean with a grin. Kingsley joined in on the fun. "We can only eat this because of Mrs. Graham. Otherwise, we'd never have the chance to eat it." Ignoring them, Benjamin walked toward Orissa. "Do you still want your squid?" Darius burst out laughing when he saw Benjamin's serious expression. Orissa took it, feeling embarrassed. "I have some squid here. Do you want it?" "No, you can have it." Benjamin did not even eat the barbecue that he was holding. The 5 children glanced at Benjamin, who returned their stares. "Do you want some drinks?" They blinked. "Of course, we want some drinks. Do you even have to ask?" Gavin scoffed. Benjamin glanced at the children and passed his barbecue over. "Here, take this. I'll go and buy us some drinks." Gavin looked at his father for a while before walking over and taking the food. He then said haughtily, "I want milk tea." Zachary chimed in, "I want lemonade." Oliver said, "I want strawberry milk tea." Jasper added, "I want melon milk tea." Jesse joined in softly, "I want apple milk tea." Benjamin glanced at the children before looking at Orissa. "Would you like to have milk tea as well?" She nodded. "I'd like a strawberry milk tea too." Sean and Kingsley automatically gave their orders as well. Kingsley said, "I'd like a mango milk tea." Sean chimed in, "Same for me." Smiling, Darius said to Benjamin, "I want one with grass jelly inside." Benjamin was speechless. With that, he left to buy some milk tea. Other than the kids and Orissa who wanted milk tea, he got the other 3 adults plain water. As for the milk tea, they were all of the same flavor, strawberry. Chapter 346. Although Oliver and Orissa were overjoyed, the other 4 kids felt gloomy since they did not get the flavors that they liked. Zachary took a dig at Benjamin. "Mr. Graham, do you have a poor memory?" Benjamin glanced at him. Kingsley burst into laughter. "He did it on purpose." "Aren't you two being too biased, Benjamin? You should have bought us milk tea, but you bought us plain water instead," teased Sean with a wide grin. "He's right. I wanted milk tea, not water." Darius chided Benjamin, "Are you trying to piss me off or something?" Benjamin shot a glance at his father. "Milk tea is too sweet, so you can't drink it." Darius was rendered speechless. Since he had a high blood sugar level, he had to keep to a diet. Kingsley rebuked, "But we can drink it. So why didn't you buy some for us?" "I didn't want Dad to yearn for milk tea if he sees both of you drinking it. That's why I got plain water for the 2 of you too," replied Benjamin calmly. The 2 of them were at a loss for words. Gazing at them curiously, Orissa asked, "Mr. Graham, why can't you drink milk tea?" Darius laughed. "I have a high blood sugar level." Orissa understood now. "In that case, you should drink less sweet drinks." Darius nodded. Looking at his 5 grandchildren drinking the milk tea happily, he swallowed hard. "Here, Grandpa, you can have some barbecue," offered Gavin. "Okay." Darius tousled his grandson's hair affectionately. When Benjamin saw how quickly Orissa had finished her drink, he raised his brows. "Would you like to have more?" Orissa glanced at him. "No." Looking at her earnestly, Benjamin wiped the sauce from her lips. Stunned, Orissa felt her cheeks burning. Are you blushing, Mommy? Jasper stared at her intently. When he said that, Gavin, Zachary, Oliver, and Jesse turned their heads around at the same time. Even Darius and the other adults looked over curiously. When Arissa felt everyone's stares on her, her face turned even redder. No, I'm not. You're mistaken. Arissa pinched her son's cheek. Jasper laughed so hard that his shoulders shook. Mommy's blushing. He dashed away while chuckling. Everyone looked at Arissa as they laughed joyfully, making her feel extremely embarrassed. When she noticed Benjamin staring at her with a smile, she glared at him furiously. He raised his eyebrows domineeringly and moved closer to her. Why are you glaring at me? When Arissa felt his charismatic aura envelop her, her heart skipped a beat. She took a step back. Why, you're wrong. I wasn't glaring at you. Benjamin scoffed. Hurry up and eat your barbecue. He passed the food over. When Arissa took it, she returned to her senses. Isn't this yours? I'm not eating. Arissa pouted before distributing the food to everyone else. After they were done with their meals, Kingsley and the other adults brought the kids in front to play, while Benjamin and Arissa trailed behind them. All the while, Benjamin kept receiving calls about work. Arissa looked at him. Why don't you go and settle work first? I'll go back after accompanying them. Benjamin glanced at her. Let's go together. Staring at him for a while, Arissa fell silent and continued admiring the scenery with the rest. After walking for more than an hour, Darius finally felt like going back. He prepared to leave for the old manor. Since the 5 kids were not going to follow him back, they bade farewell to him. Goodbye, Grandpa. Goodbye, sweethearts. Grinning, Darius waved at them. He then reminded Arissa, you should go back earlier and rest. You've been busy for the entire day, after all. Got it. Have a safe trip home, Mr. Graham. Arissa waved at him with a smile. Darius nodded before instructing the chauffeur to drive him back. Chapter 347. Benjamin's eyes ranged over Sean and Kingsley. We are going home now. You guys should head back as well. Kingsley asked teasingly, Benjamin, aren't you going to invite us over for a drink? Benjamin shot him a glare as he gestured for Arissa and the kids to go in the car. Goodbye, Uncle Sean and Uncle Kingsley. The 5 kids waved their hands and bid the 2 men goodbye. Their voices were so cute that Sean and Kingsley could not help but pick them up and peck them on their cheeks. Go home with me, okay? They asked the kids in chorus. Swiveling his eyes around, Zachary smiled before replying, no, thank you. Why not? Kingsley pretended to be sad as he gazed at the kids. We don't want to separate with Mommy. Jesse chimed in swiftly. Kingsley planted a gentle peck on her soft cheek dotingly. I have a lot of nice foods and nice toys in my house. Jessie cast him a sidelong glance with her bright and clear eyes. Gavin said you're a liar. Kingsley was nonplussed by her response. Gavin cast a glance at him. Uncle Kingsley, stop lying to them. Your house isn't fun at all. Go to my house then. We can do experiments together. Sean tried to entice the kids. Shaking his head, Gavin rejected without hesitation. We are not going. Sean smiled at Zachary and Oliver. I guarantee it will be fun. You won't regret it if you follow me home tonight. Zachary shifted his gaze toward Sean. Uncle Sean, we won't go if Mommy doesn't. Oliver nodded in agreement. We will be wherever Mommy is. Sean shot Arissa an amused look, teasing, they cling to you a lot. Naturally, he did not have the courage to invite her over to his house for fear of incurring someone's wrath. Smiling, she replied, they won't be able to fall asleep in the beds at your house either, so you two should stop coaxing them. Even if they go with you, they might complain and fuss about going home, so you might need to send them home in the end. Kingsley and Sean chuckled. None of them were able to persuade the kids at all. Benjamin's gaze landed on his children in the 2 men's embrace, and he reached out to carry them over before urging, let's get in the car and go home. Gavin and Jasper sneaked a glance at Benjamin, then got into the car obediently. Arissa, too, reached out to carry Jesse over. You guys should head home too. Benjamin turned around, took over the little girl, and placed her inside the car. Lastly, he took Zachary and Oliver from Sean's arms and put the 2 boys in the back seat. Buckle your seatbelts. he commanded before shutting the car door. Then, he opened the door to the front passenger's seat for Arissa. I will sit with them at the back. With his sharp gaze fastened on her, he said, there's no more space in the back. Kingsley had his hands stuffed in his pockets as he regarded them with a smile. Mrs. Graham, Benjamin wants you to sit in the front. That seat belongs to his woman. Arissa was taken aback upon hearing that. Benjamin shot his friend a warning look before pushing Arissa into the car and swiftly closing the door. Bye, he said to the two men. Sean and Kingsley smiled and waved their hands. They also waved at the 5 children in the back seat. Sweethearts, remember to think about me. Kingsley shouted. Zachary rolled down the window and shouted, Goodbye, Uncle Kingsley. Goodbye, Uncle Sean. The other children also leaned toward the window and said goodbye to them smilingly. Goodbye, sweethearts. Let's play together again next time. Sean responded, waving his hand. Benjamin sat in the car and glanced at the kids. Sit back down properly. Arissa also turned around and instructed, buckle your seatbelts. We are leaving now. The 5 children immediately complied, sitting down and fastening their seatbelts. Their mother chuckled, finding the sight of them sitting side by side obediently adorable. Chapter 348. Tenderness flashed across Benjamin's eyes as he tilted his head to check on Arissa's seatbelt. Seeing that she had not buckled it, he voiced, You kept worrying about the kids. How about yourself? Upon saying that, he leaned toward her and reached for the seatbelt. The woman pressed her back close to the chair, not daring to look at him. Her heart raced as she whiffed his scent that wafted to her nose. When his hand brushed across her chest, she shuddered a little. Thinking that he had touched her on purpose, she glared at him, only to see him focusing on buckling her seatbelt. Oh, he didn't do it deliberately. The moment Benjamin raised his gaze, he was met by the sight of her crimson face. A hint of delight flickered briefly in his eyes as he asked, What's wrong? Nothing. Arissa avoided making eye contact with him. Benjamin pinched her face gently before straightening his back and returning to his seat. Thanks. Arissa gave him a sidelong glance. No problem. Benjamin started the car and looked over his shoulder to check on the kids again. Sit tight, he exhorted. Got it, the 5 children responded without making any fuss. They were exhausted after playing for the whole day. With that, Benjamin drove toward the Graham residence. Along the road, the kids started dozing off. When Arissa noticed it, she turned around to look at them and let out a chuckle. Hey, don't fall asleep. Do you hear me? She shouted. The 5 children opened their eyes. Jessie rubbed her eyes for a while, but her eyelids soon drooped. Sweethearts, wake up. If you sleep now, I won't bathe you after we get home. Arissa warned. Hearing that, Zachary lifted his small hands and rubbed his face. Instantly, his drowsiness faded a little. Gavin also pinched himself to keep himself awake. As for Oliver, he leaned against the seat sleepily and pouted. Mommy, it's still a long way before we reach home. Can't we sleep for a while? Jasper also tried his best to keep his eyes open. Mommy, I feel so sleepy. We will reach home soon. Don't sleep now. Arissa signaled Gavin to wake up the rest by wiping their faces. Sweetheart, wake up. Sing along with Gavin. It's been so long since I last heard you sing. She cooed. Leaning against Jasper's shoulder, Jessie would have fallen asleep again if Arissa did not call her. Gavin took over the small handkerchief in the car and moistened it before letting his younger brothers wipe their faces with it. You guys first. Zachary had drunk some water, so he felt a little more awake then. After Oliver finished wiping his face, he handed the handkerchief to Jasper. Jasper wiped his face and helped Jessie with it before returning the handkerchief to Gavin. Gavin put some more water on the handkerchief and said to Zachary, I'll wipe your face. The delighted Zachary stretched his neck out. Gavin helped him wipe his face and then wiped his own face. Let's drink some water and then sing. Arissa was determined to have them stay awake. It's okay for them to sleep a while, Benjamin said as he glanced at the rearview mirror. They look really sleepy. Arissa took a look at him. If they fall asleep now, I will have a hard time bathing them later. If they fall asleep, I will bathe them. The 5 kids became energetic upon hearing Benjamin's words. We will take a bath on our own. We don't need Mr. Graham's help. Zachary snorted. Let's not sleep then. Gavin turned to face his siblings and took out some candies from his pocket. I have some candies here. One for each. Mommy, one for you too. Jasper, who was sitting nearer to Orissa, took the candy and handed it to her. She received it with a smile and asked Benjamin, do you want it? Gavin gave it to you, so you should have it. He replied. His response delighted her as she had only asked him out of courtesy. Turning around, she looked at Gavin and inquired, Sweetheart, where did you get these candies? I have never seen him eat them before. Gavin took a peep at his mother as he unwrapped the candy. Grandpa bought them for us this morning. I haven't finished eating mine. Orissa chuckled and looked at the other 4 children. Have you finished eating yours? Chapter 349. Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, and Jesse nodded simultaneously. We've finished ours. Suppressing a chuckle, Orissa asked curiously, Gavin, why haven't you finished yours? Did you not eat them? No, Mommy, I was eating fruits at that time, so I didn't eat the candies. If I ate them, the fruits wouldn't taste sweet anymore. Gavin explained. Zachary tittered and whispered in his mother's ear, Mommy, it's because he ate so slowly. We had all finished our fruits, but he was still eating his one small bite at a time. Orissa could not help but smile. Gavin was the slowest eater among the 5 kids, even slower than Jesse. She cast a glance at Benjamin, who was driving. Gavin must have picked it up from him. He's also a slow eater. Gavin blushed as he lowered his head and explained, I wasn't that slow. You guys were too fast. His siblings laughed, making his face turn even redder. Orissa chuckled, thinking that her son looked adorable. After clearing her throat, she said to the other 4 kids, all right. Cut it out. There's nothing funny about it. Everyone has their own pace in eating. Mommy, you were laughing too. Oliver's eyes crinkled from smiling as he exposed her. Yes, I saw Mommy laughing too. She laughed like this. Jesse imitated the way Orissa was laughing, tugging the corner of her lips upward. That evoked a peal of laughter from Zachary and Jasper, whose eyes flickered between Gavin and Orissa. Gavin, Mommy was laughing at you. Gavin looked at them, blushing. Laugh as much as you want. I do eat slowly, after all. All right, sit properly now. Orissa cut them off to spare Gavin's blushes. The kids stopped laughing immediately, pursing their lips together. By then, their drowsiness had disappeared. At that moment, Benjamin took a peep at the back seat through the rearview mirror, and a smile hovered on his lips. Jesse leaned against the window and gazed at the neon lights outside. Wow, it's so beautiful out there. The little girl pointed at the light show outside, overwhelmed with excitement. Look, isn't it prettier than overseas? There are even animals here. Zachary, Oliver, and Jasper leaned against the window, marveling at the scenery. It's so breathtaking. Gavin looked outside too. That's a cow. Don't you guys have them overseas? No, it's so quiet during the night overseas. There's nothing fun. Jesse pouted. I also think it is more fun over here during the night. Jasper grinned from ear to ear. I wonder what that place is. Gavin, have you been there? Zachary asked curiously. No, Gavin was curious too. Oliver and Jasper stared at their brother and let out a sigh. Mr. Graham has never brought you there. Gavin pursed his lips when he heard that. No. Instantly, Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, and Jesse shot looks of disapproval at Benjamin. Having perceived their stares, Benjamin glanced at the rearview mirror. I can bring you guys there tomorrow if you want. There's a mountain there, which is good for a night run. The kids were rendered speechless by his statement. We want to go there to have fun, not to jog. Orissa looked at Benjamin. You've never brought Gavin out to play before. No wonder Gavin looked so dejected. Benjamin took a glance at Gavin, and guilt welled up in his heart. Indeed, I spent too less time with him before this. Seeing that he did not speak further, she shifted her gaze toward the children. Sweethearts, do you want to go there now? The kids' eyes lit up, but they immediately shook their heads. Mommy, let's not go there tonight. We want to go home and sleep. Chapter 350. The kids were still energetic after they returned home. As soon as they got out of the car, they ran to their room to take a bath. "Mommy, we are going to take our bath now." "Hey," Orissa, who had just alighted the car, chuckled when she noticed all 5 of the children had disappeared from her sight. Just as she was about to enter the house, Benjamin called her, "Wait." She looked over her shoulder and watched the man get out of the car. Having closed the car door, he walked toward her. Orissa was slightly puzzled by his stern face. "What is it?" Benjamin glanced at her before taking out his phone. "Have you seen this person before?" She took a look at the screen and felt that the person in the photo looked familiar. Knitting her brows, she tried to recall if she had ever seen the person. Benjamin then scrolled to another photo and showed it to her. At that instant, Orissa remembered something. "Yes, I have seen him before." In response, he narrowed his eyes. "Did he approach you?" The woman did not hide it from him since he looked very solemn. "I supposed so. He tried to hit on me. However, I ignored him, and I paid for my own ice cream." The pucker between his eyebrows deepened. "What did he say to you?" Orissa answered honestly, "Nothing much. He said he didn't bring any money and wanted me to pay for his ice cream. But afterward, he took out his money and wanted to pay for me." She then elaborated on the situation from that day. Benjamin's eyes were riveted on her. "Did he say anything else?" She pondered for a while. "Oh, right, he even wanted to have my number." "Did you give it to him?" His voice turned deeper. "No, I thought he didn't look like a good guy. I am not a fool. Why would I give my number to someone like that?" Benjamin felt relieved after hearing her affirmative reply. "Ignore any man who asks for your number." His order caused Orissa to flash him a glance. Benjamin avoided her gaze for a second before cautioning sternly, "Keep your guard up when you see this guy again and stay away from him." Curious, she asked, "Why? Is he your enemy?" He stroked her head gently and praised, "You're a smart cookie." Orissa was startled. "So he's really your enemy?" A second later, she swallowed hard, relieved that the person did not do anything else during that time. Otherwise, she would have been in danger. Did he intentionally approach me after knowing I'm related to Benjamin? If that's the case, he most probably knows about the kids too. Will the kids be in danger then? She asked anxiously. Benjamin sighed when he saw that she was more concerned about the kids than herself. "Don't you think you are in more danger than them?" Even Justin had tried to approach her. Orissa pursed her lips. "I am a grown woman, and I know how to protect myself. But they are still kids." He grabbed her hand and led her into the house. "I will ask my bodyguards to protect them secretly, so you don't have to worry. Justin might be up to something for getting close to you. You have to be careful." Orissa was puzzled by his nonchalant expression when he had been so grim-faced just moments ago. "Is he really your enemy?" she asked again. Benjamin tilted his head to look at her. "Not really. He's just an insignificant pest." She glanced at him and then at her wrist, which was in his grasp. A cunning glint appeared in her eyes briefly, and she inquired, "Why don't you let your bodyguard protect me then?" The man raised an eyebrow. "Do you want to be followed?" Orissa blinked and did not reply to his question. "Why do I feel like I might be in danger if I stay with you? Should I live elsewhere? You will be in a greater danger if you leave me now." Benjamin responded with a snort. She let out an amused chuckle and voiced, "Are you sure there are no other enemies targeting me?" "Don't worry, I will never let you get hurt," he assured, giving her a sidelong glance. Her heart skipped a beat as she replied, "That's more like it. Otherwise, I will move elsewhere with the kids." That had him furrowing his brows. Can't she stay by my side and live a peaceful life with me? Why is she still thinking about going elsewhere?